Hey everyone, I just wanted to go ahead and explain something that you are going to see on your test and on your Delta Math portion of your review. When this stuff covers target D, and it's still not complicated, just going to ask you for the X and Y intercept, which is just new, but I'm going to show you guys how to do that. And you will be able to use your notes on your test, of course. So write down good notes, but you guys have done stuff like this before. It's just quick math, but I'm just going to explain it to you. So you're going to have a couple one of these problems, both on your review and on your Delta Math test. And so I just wanted to walk through how to do a question like this. You will have stuff to practice. You will have obviously your own Delta Math. I just suggest that you watch this first, and then the rest will go easy. So really quick, we're asked for the horizontal asymptote, the vertical asymptote, X and Y intercept, and then the whole. This all is target D. So remember when you guys were doing this over before spring break, you felt really confident about this. So don't forget about how good you felt. You may need to be looking back at your notes during this review, and that's what I expect you to do. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start this problem. First things first, vertical asymptotes you can figure out without even doing anything to the problem, without touching it. So vertical asymptotes, remember they horizontal asymptotes. Horizontal asymptotes have to do with the degrees of the polynomial. And so those rules are something that you would be able to find on your notes in your notes packet on page 22. So I'm pulling that up right now so you know what I'm talking about. But the three rules are towards the end in target D, and 22 right here. So we need to look at the degrees of the polynomial, and then these three rules are what we can decide what's happening. So let's see. Remember, degrees of the polynomial is the highest exponent, and so this polynomial, or this numerator right here, has a degree of 1. And so that's 1. And then the degree of the denominator is 2. Remember, that's the highest exponent. So the denominator is bigger than the numerator, or the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So let's see where that puts us. That puts us with these rules. Our numerator was smaller than the denominator. So remember, the numerator was smaller. So the rule that would apply to this is if the degree of the numerator is smaller than the degree of the denominator, then our horizontal asymptote is y equals 0. Do not stress this stuff out. This is the easier part of the test. And remember, you get to use your notes because you're at home. I am not going to be oblivious to the fact that you are using your notes. And at this point, I want you to use them because I want you to be successful. So remember, our horizontal asymptote equals y equals 0, and we got that from this table right here. So use your notes. Vertical asymptotes require a little bit of work. We need to factor the numerator and the denominator and first see if we have any holes. So we need to factor the numerator and the denominator. For the sake of room, I'm going to do that down here. So I'm just going to rewrite what I have. I had f of x equals negative 5x plus 20 divided by x squared minus 16. So we need to factor the numerator and the denominator. I'm going to factor out a negative 5 out of the numerator because we always want our first term to be positive. So I can take out that negative 5, and I'm left with x minus 4. 20 divided by negative 5 is negative 4. And then if I have two terms here that are being subtracted, I have the difference of two squares, so I can take the square root. So I'm going to have x plus 4 and x minus 4. Okay, now the numerator and the denominator are completely factored. I need to ask myself if there's anything I can cancel, which yes, I can. I can cancel the x minus 4s. Remember, when you cancel something, that means I have a hole. I have a hole at where they canceled. So I have a hole with the x minus 4s. So I set that equal to 0 in order to solve for x. So I have a hole with my x minus 4s because that's what canceled. So I need to solve for x. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And then I have x equals 4. So I have a hole at x equals 4. So I need to put that in piece of information here. I have a hole at x equals 4. And the new thing with the holes is it's going to want the exact point that the hole happens at. So my x value is 4. And then in order to find the y value, in order to find what I'm going to put here, I need to substitute 4 into whatever I have left into the equation, whatever I have left. So, whoops, excuse me one second. Let me get a new page. So So what I have left is I'm left over with -5 on top. The x minus 4's got canceled, and then I have x plus 4. We are now going to work with this the rest of the problem. So after you have your whole, rewrite it and work with this now for the rest of the problem. Rest of the problem. Sorry, my handwriting is, I don't know if it's getting better, but whatever. And so I need to figure out the y value of the whole. So in order to find the y value of the whole, I need to substitute what I got in for my whole into what I have left. So this is what I have left. And I had a whole at x equals 4. So a whole at x equals 4. And I need to substitute that into this. So I still have a -5 on top. And then my value for x is 4 because of my whole. And so now I have 4 plus 4 on the denominator, and if I clean that up, I have -5 over 8. So this is the y value for my whole. Okay, so my y value for my whole is going to be -5 over 8. And that's my answer for my whole. So don't think of it as too much harder. You know how to do this stuff. This page right here is easy math. Just make sure you remember the steps. Use this video. Take good notes from this video while you have the test. And so then my vertical asymptote, remember vertical asymptotes are whatever is left in the equation. So this was just work for the whole. So I'm going to lightly cross it out. That was just work for the whole. So for everything else still, we need to use what we were left over with. So I was left over with -5 divided by x plus 4. So whatever is left in the denominator is my vertical asymptote. So what's left in denominator? So going back to the equation that I highlighted, I have to think about what's left in my denominator. So I have x plus 4 in the denominator. So that means I have to have a vertical asymptote using x plus 4. And I remember I need to set that equal to 0 in order to solve for where my vertical asymptote is going to happen at. So if I subtract 4 from both sides, I'm going to get a vertical asymptote at x equals -4. So if I go ahead and put that information up here, I have a vertical asymptote at x equals -4. Alrighty, we are almost done. And so if you notice, the question's going to ask me for the y-intercept and the x-intercept. So if you pay attention to this closely, we will see what we have. I'm going to erase my work for the whole because at this point you should have that written down somewhere. But remember, this is the equation we're using for the rest of the problem. And so we're still going to use this. I recommend going in the order that I did when you do these problems on your review and your test. But I have -5 divided by x plus 4, and I want to find the x-intercept. The x-intercept happens with what you are left over with in the numerator. So x-intercept comes from the numerator. What happens when we set the numerator equal to 0 and solve for x? Remember, we don't have an x in my numerator. I don't have one. I don't have an x. If I don't have an x in my numerator and I only have a number, if I only have a number, I don't have an x-intercept. Don't have one. So I would go up here for the problem and say that there is no x-intercept. So I would cross that. I would pick that answer essentially. So that's my answer that I would pick. I have no x-intercept because there's a number. There's only a number left. Remember, we're using what's left over in the problem. For example, if I had, well, you'll see for the denominator. If I had a number, I'm going to erase this vertical asymptote stuff now too, because this should be written down. Sorry, I'm really trying to make do with what I've got. I don't have a whiteboard, obviously, for you guys to see, but I'm trying my best. We can hold a Zoom meeting too. That's what the school days are for Zoom meetings. So I'm happy to help. But for an example, if we were left over with x minus 3, like say divided by 4, we would set our numerator equal to 0, and solve for x. Set our numerator equal to 0 and solve for x. So I would add 3 to both sides. And so my x-intercept would happen at 3. I'm just giving you guys an example because the example we have does not have an x-intercept. But x-intercepts are what happen when you set your numerators equal to 0. If you don't have any x's, you don't have an x-intercept. So remember that much. Hopefully you were writing down good notes. Okay. And then your y-intercept, so I'm going to write a note right here. X-intercept set numerator. Numerator, that's very bad writing. We want to set the numerator set your numerator equal to 0. Solve for x. Okay, that's for your x-intercept. And then your y-intercept, you plug in 0 for x. And all of this happens with what you are left over with. All of this, the vertical asymptote, the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the whole is what happens after you factor the numerator and the denominator and cancel. Okay, so you plug in 0 for x. So we have our y-intercept, plug in 0 for x with what's left over. So what's left over, I mean what's in this highlighted box. So if I substitute 0 in for x, I'm going to have -5 on top, 0 in for x plus 4. So 0 in for x, and clean that up. I have -5 over 4, so that is my y-intercept. I have a y-intercept at -5 divided by 4. So -5 divided by 4. And that is how I would answer this problem. I know it's super sloppy. I very much apologize for that, but bear with me because I'm trying to make do with what I've got. Really do take good notes on this video. Don't just give up if it's confusing or if my work is sloppy. I really need you guys to try and rewatch this video if you need, and send me any questions if you have. You won't really run into these on your paper copy of your review, which is what we're going to do first. And then your Delta Math review, this is what you will have. And then so I will give you guys this link, and that will make much more sense for these types of problems. But again, feel free to message me with whatever you've needed, and I would be happy to help. I miss you all so, so, so much. I wish we were all learning this in the classroom, but it's been very hard, but we will get through this together and we will come out stronger on the end. But I hope you're taking care of yourselves and your mental health first, and then tackling school, because you guys all have got this, and I believe in you, and I hope that you believe in yourselves as well. But please reach out for messages, please message me if you need help, and I look forward to hearing from you.